So this is day 14 of the videos that I'm making to help raise understanding and awareness of PTSD, and today I'm going to talk about complex PTSD. Quite often when people think about PTSD they think of it in relation to a single discrete incident, so the car crash or the terrorist bombing or whatever it is, but it's a one-off incident, and that absolutely is enough to trigger that post-trauma response. However, traumas don't always just come along neatly packaged in a single incident. They can actually go back, they can be part of a pattern that goes on for many years, or they can go right back to childhood, where people have experienced really difficult childhoods where they've never been safe, they've never felt safe, and that can have a profound effect on them. And one of the things that can come out of this is complex PTSD. And that's really where we've got a string of traumatic events, and you can't really pick one out from the other because they're all an ongoing event. A bit like if I said to you, remember one incident from school, you might have the odd incident that stands out, but actually it's part of a much wider experience. And when people have had prolonged and ongoing traumas, you get that exact same thing where, yes, there will be standout incidents, but actually it's much harder to define and to pull out what it was like, because it was sort of so all-encompassing and has become part of a theme of memories almost. So that's just a little bit about what would make up complex trauma. It's also really important to recognise that we have what's sometimes called big T trauma, which is your really obvious in-your-face events that are experienced as traumatic. So if you're in a big car crash or a really serious assault, then it's really easy to identify that as being a trauma. But there's also what's called small T trauma, and that doesn't mean it has any less impact. It means the events are smaller, and so they're much harder to pull out and see them for the damage that they cause. And so people can go, well, nothing really bad happened, and actually it's been an ongoing set of small events that just seeps into you. A bit like a big T trauma is a bit like someone dropping a boulder on top of your car, and it's really obvious to see where the damage is and what's going on. Small T trauma is much more like someone putting a load of sand and gravel and grit into your petrol tank, into your water, into your oil. Much harder to identify and go, well, this one piece of sand is really, and actually it's the accumulation of it and where it lands that's really important. So when people say small T trauma, it's not that it's any less devastating to how someone's life works, it's that it's much harder to recognise and see and pick out, because it's not these really big, obvious, in-your-face type experiences. So that's just a little bit about complex trauma and what's sometimes referred to as big T trauma and small T trauma, and I'll see you tomorrow.